I think the first chapter of my book that I'd like to open with is when I was 19 years old. I'm getting discharged off my second ship as a cadet off a container ship that did the Far East run. Just had done a run from San Diego, LA, over to South Korea, China, and Japan. And came back, we're pulling back into LA, getting discharged. And so captain giving me my evaluation, and he told me straight up that he thought I did not have what it took to be a sailor. He said, for sure, you are not cut out for this job. You don't have the personality, you don't have the chops, you're just not going to be cut out. You're not cut out for this job. And I was so pissed at that captain. I don't even remember his name, honestly. I don't even remember his name. But I was so pissed at this captain for telling me that I could not and I would not do well at sea, that I left that boat determined to prove that man wrong.
Did you prove him wrong?
Yeah, I did. I proved him wrong. I did 12 years at sea.
You quit on your own
terms. After 12 years of going to sea, rising all the way to the captain's rank at master level, I went all the way to the very top of the industry that I could get to. And that's when I decided to quit sailing. I proved that son of a gun wrong, that I could do it. 12 years at sea, 4 years at the academy, 16 years total at sea, with a total almost over 8 years total straight sea time combined. I was on the water for more than 8 years of my life.
Holy moly. When you put it in that perspective, that was a long time to be alone.
To be alone with my own thoughts in my own head for more than 8 years of my life staring at the water. That's going to be the first chapter of my book. It's going through that moment because that was one of those like lifetime defining moments.
Yeah.
Not even sure if that guy knew what he was doing to me at the time. I thought,
I think that was God's providence, making him tell that to you in order to create that fire in you to keep on going, because you got, I think one of your strengths is steadfastness and tenacity. You're extremely tenacious. I think going out to sea kind of helped you develop that character trait.
Well, I have been called worse.
I mean, no, think about it. Was it Winston Churchill was like, he was tenacious, but he was needed at that specific point of time in history to be that kind of person. If he wasn't that kind of person, if it was just like Chamberlain with an appeasement mentality, the landscape of our world would have changed drastically. But no, Winston Churchill was placed there at the right time by God to be a brute force against that.
Coincidentally, Winston Churchill, before he became prime minister, was Lord of the Admiralty. He was in charge of the Admiralty.
Well, I had no idea. I guess he had a
very interesting
life on the ocean.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he had a life on the ocean, but he was in charge of the Admiralty. But
he had to deal with all the sailors.
He had to deal with sailors, yeah.
Just a special breed of people.
Yes, very special.
We love them.
That's the first chapter of my book.
Yeah, no, I like it. And then you can go into your sea stories of how you almost died by the mob in like Africa jungle.
Yeah, that's going to be a special one. I got to figure out exactly where the right place to put that one is. I have to say that
decision making.
Yes,
it could be decision making.
I'm not sure how much detail to put into that one, but we'll let's see. We'll see how that one goes.
Yeah, stories about decision making. You could do like in comparison from your early days to the maturity days of like fatherhood, and then to entrepreneurship. Just the decision making changes depending on the experience that you face and your maturity level.
Yeah. Next chapter is going to be how I was signing off on another ship, and the captain told me that I had a failure to see the big picture. Actually, I'm noticing a theme with all my evaluations growing up in my early career. In the early days, I'd sign off on the ship, and the captain would tell me about the third mate that I had the same problem almost every time for almost 4 years straight. I'd sign off the ship. The captain would write down the same thing. He'd write down failure to see the big picture, not ready for promotion, failure to see the big picture. And that just bothered me so much that I wanted to figure out what this big picture thing is that they were all talking about, and why I didn't see it. Decided to start changing, figure out what it means to keep the big picture in mind, the vision, and it's culminated all the way up until now, where now I have a hard time seeing the details. Like, it's almost the exact opposite, because I see so much of the big picture that it's hard for me to actually see some of the details, but I can shift down to those gears. But when I'm in the detail work, it's hard to see the vision. It's hard to see the big picture.
You just need practice
So
transitioning quickly.
So that's going to be in the book too. And
Yeah.
the third one is going to be in the book. The third chapter is going to be when I signed off the Martinez. I was out. I did the Alaska run. I was getting off of the.
Oh, I remember that. It was
Martinez.
brutal.
This was my first shot at second mate. And I had just did a full, a short tour, and everything was fine. And then until I got off to get ready to sign off, and when I was signing off, the captain told me essentially that he had already put into the office that he didn't want me to come back.
Why?
The honest answer is that I didn't work hard enough, is what he said, and I knew that was absolutely a bag of baloney, because I had given him everything. I had literally worked as hard as I could work, both physically and legally. Legally,
Bless you.
yeah, legally we weren't allowed to work more than 12 hours a day, and he was I don't know if he was expecting me to work like 16 to 18 hours a day to learn whatever. I have no idea what he wanted me to learn that I didn't already know. But apparently I didn't show him what I needed to show him. And I walked off that ship, and I said to myself, you know what? That's perfectly fine. That's totally fine, because I know in my heart, my mind, that I gave that man 110%. And if he doesn't think that's good enough for him, then he can go fly a kite.
Well, you can find another person. Maybe you just didn't jive with him,
Yeah, but I walked off that ship a little bit more mature, because I realized that just because he didn't want to work with me doesn't mean that I was a failure. That was another big moment for me, where I walked off that ship and I was perfectly fine never to go back to it. So that was another good story, another good evaluation story. All of which have to do with mindset. All of them have to do with getting your mind right to be able to tackle what you're doing. So I really could see over the years God kind of shaping that.
Well, I think he also kind of gave that to you right now, because you always reflected. That's one good thing that you always did, but you haven't reflected like this and actually pointed to what God was actually trying to teach you that lesson. I think this finally was like an aha moment for you right now.
I think I am starting to get the idea. It's to help people.
Mindset.
Yeah. No.
You don't have to go out to sea. Just listen to me.
At the end of the day, all of this was crafted uniquely to shape me into who I am right now at this moment in time. Just like Moses wandered in the desert. He was 40 years when he left Egypt, and then 40 years in the desert, Sinai, herding sheep, and until Moses said, okay, now you're ready to go lead my people. It's like, not that I'm going to be Moses being a nation state, but
I think we all have Moses.
I think that this is kind of my mini version of that, where God has been forming who I am in the wilderness for so long now. I think this is we are entering that next phase.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what God's going to do, and the people that He's going to bring our way that we work together and help. I'm really excited to see those people.
It's also kind of mourning the last stage that we were in, because we were in the wilderness, figuratively speaking. Like, we were close to God. We had God moments. We were on top of the mountain. We were right there. And it was so beautiful to see God's work in our lives close. Yeah, the next step it's exciting, but we go back to 3 lessons.
The 3 lessons is that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that comes from the mouth of the Lord. You shall not put the Lord your God to the test. And
remember
who brought you out of the land of Egypt. When you have the land, when you have bounty and you have everything, remember who gave it to you.
Yeah.
So it's that last one that gets most people.